Welcome to Gate Pathshala. So today I am going to in this small lecture I am going to teach you the two-dimensional ideal potential flows. I hope you will enjoy the lecture sitting back at home and learn the basics and pretty tough concepts of ideal potential flows. So I will be making sets of this ideal potential flows chapter will be divided into several parts. So one after the other the videos will be continued. So we are going to talk about today the two-dimensional ideal potential flows. So the two-dimensional ideal potential flows are the potential flows which have 5 assumptions. Okay. So namely these 5 assumptions are, the name itself says the very first assumption is should be 2D. Then the second assumption is flow should be steady. Okay. Third is flow should be inviscid, and the fourth is flow should be incompressible, and the fifth and the last is the irrotational. So these are the 5 assumptions which must be holded when you are talking about the two-dimensional ideal potential flows. Even if you miss the one of these assumptions, you are no longer in this chapter. You are completely out of this topic. Okay. So what is this 2D? So this 2D, the flows are said to be two-dimensional if we are using the Cartesian coordinates. They are function of x comma y. Every fluid flow parameter should be a function of x or y. Okay. Or they can be a function of r comma theta if you are using the polar coordinates. Okay. So the fluid is said to be steady. Okay. And one more thing about this 2D flows is any partial derivative with respect to the third coordinate of any quantity should be 0, meaning there is no change in the z direction. Since we consider the 2D, all two-dimensional flows will consider the unit depth. Okay. So you have the steady, the flow is said to be steady if the partial derivative with respect to time of any quantity like pressure, temperature, density, velocity, momentum or energy should be equal to 0. The flow is said to be inviscid, okay, when the coefficient of viscosity, which you call as the molecular viscosity or the dynamic viscosity, should be equal to 0. Or the other way around, you can express this thing, the inviscid flows as whose kinematic viscosity, which is nothing but the dynamic viscosity over the density divided by the density, should be 0. Okay. So the flow is said to be incompressible if the density is constant. Okay. So if the density is constant, then by continuity, it implies by continuity that divergence of the velocity vector should be equal to 0. If the divergence of the velocity vector is 0, what is this del? Del stands for I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z dot, what is this velocity vector? U I cap v j cap plus w k cap. Here I am using the Cartesian coordinates. So when you take this dot product, we get dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y plus dou w by dou z. So meaning, when this continuity equation is satisfied by the components of the velocity, the flow is satisfying the non-divergent. It is not diverging. The divergence of the velocity vector is 0, which means the density is constant. Okay. If the flow is 2D, which is our consideration now, this component where dou by dou z of any parameter should be made 0, giving rise to the continuity equation during our whole chapter as dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y to be equal to 0. This is a very important thing. Okay. This expression you cannot use in other topics, meaning if you forget one of the assumptions, you are no longer allowed to use this particular thing. In fact, you will not be in the same chapter at all. Okay. So the flow is said to be irrotational if the vorticity is equals to 0. What is this vorticity? The vorticity vector xi bar is curl of the velocity vector. Vorticity is the spinning property of a rotating mass multitude. Okay. So if the particles are not rotating about their own mass center and still they are in translation, okay, but without rotation about their own mass center, the flow is said to be irrotational. Okay. So this can be also be proved that it is 2 times of the rotation vector. Since we are dealing with the only 2D flows, for example, if I draw the plane like x, y and I am having a rotation like this, okay, if I curl my fingers, do not use your left hand. The convention is you should use your right hand only and curl your fingers in the direction of the rotation of the fluid particle. Okay, if the fluid particle is rotating in this direction, you curl your fingers like that and the thumb will be pointing towards you. So that is your z direction. So if we are considering only 2D flow, then there will be only survival of omega z. In z direction you will have the rotation. So that is the k cap. Okay. So if the flow is irrotational, so here I am considering 2D as well as irrotational, so I will be writing here omega z equals to 0. What is this omega z? Omega z is half dou v by dou x minus dou u by dou y. Okay. If you equate this to 0, this implies that dou v by dou x minus dou u by dou y is equals to 0. This is another important expression throughout our 2-dimensional ideal potential flows, because the flows in this topic are going to be irrotational. Okay. The importance of these assumptions that we have here, these are the set of assumptions we have. These are very, very important. People remember the equations, but they forget what are the assumptions involved in the topic. So they start to end up talking a few things like that they are not supposed to, and in fact in classes the friends they start debating on it. Okay. So if your assumptions are there, you have not forgotten even a single assumption and you are discussing, you are still in that topic. But if you are discussing something of real life and you are trying to do that with the assumptions of that chapter, it is unfair. Okay. So let me give you one example. Suppose you remember 4 assumptions, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you forgot the first one. Okay. Meaning your flow, you are talking about 3D flows. Okay. So and still the flow is steady, inviscid, incompressible and irrotational. If you are sticking to these 4 assumptions and you forgot the first one, you are dealing with 3-dimensional potential flows, which we study in our aerodynamics course, a topic called finite wing theory mostly. Okay. Suppose, okay, meaning you are no longer in the 2-dimensional ideal potential flows, you are dealing with some other chapter called finite wing theory. Suppose you remember the 4 assumptions and you forgot the second one, which is the steady. Okay. So you are not doing the steady analysis, you will have to pick up a separate chapter or separate textbook called unsteady aerodynamics. Okay. Suppose you remember the 4 and you forgot the flow to be inviscid. The moment you forgot the inviscid, the flow is, you are thinking it is viscid. Okay. It will obviously remove the irrotationality once, because most of the viscous flows are rotational flows. Fine. So viscous flows are like internal flows or external flows. Okay. Flow through pipes or flow around bodies like aerofoils, aircraft, wings. Okay. So you have to consider, if you are taking viscous flows, you have to think about the existence of the thin boundary layers. Okay. Then if you forget the incompressible assumption and you are talking about the ideal potential flow, it's going to lead you into a very absurd discussion. It is very unethical for forgetting the assumptions. So I would like to emphasize on this. Suppose you remember the 4 assumptions that the flow is 2D, steady, inviscid and irrotational, but you forgot the assumption to be incompressible. If the flow is compressible, you are no longer in this chapter, you have to pick up not just one chapter or separate topic, you have to pick up another textbook called Gas Dynamics or Modern Compressible Flows textbook. Okay? So it is very important that you remember these assumptions. So if you remember the 4 assumptions and you forget the 5th one, that is irrotational, the flow is going to behave in a different manner and this rotation is going to be not equal to 0. So if it is rotational, then you are no longer in this chapter. Okay, so you have to be very careful with the assumptions. Okay, so let's move on to something, the types of flows. Before we move on to the types of flows, so let me give you the equations for the stream function and the potential functions in relation to the velocity components. Let me introduce you with something called stream function and the potential function. So let's begin with something called as stream function. Stream function is denoted by the symbol psi, and remember it is defined only for 2D flows, it is not defined for the 3D flows. Okay, so the way it is defined is, if you take the partial derivative of psi with respect to the coordinate y, it gives you the component of the velocity in x direction, that is u, and if you partially differentiate psi with respect to x, it should give the component of the velocity v, but it is not so, we put here minus. Okay, why minus? If you don't put this minus, your continuity equation for 2D ideal potential flows will not be satisfied. That's why this minus is introduced. Okay, so that you satisfy dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y is equals to 0, which I said it is the continuity equation for 2D ideal potential flows. When you plug in this u and v in this equation, it will make it equal to 0, otherwise it won't. Fine. So this is how the stream function, this is in Cartesian, or you can say it is called as rectangular coordinates. In rectangular coordinates, your stream function and the components of the velocity equations are these. So if you move on to the polar coordinates, so in polar coordinates we will have the velocity vector which is v bar. So in 3D we write Vr Er cap plus V theta E theta cap plus Vz Ez cap as the velocity vector, where Er cap, E theta cap and Ez cap are the unit vectors in radial, tangential and axial direction. Since flows are 2D, our assumption is 2D, the very first assumption, the velocity vector in polar we will be writing it as Vr Er cap plus V theta E theta cap, where Vr and V theta are the radial and tangential components of the velocity. Okay. So the relation of Vr with the stream function is, if you differentiate partially psi with respect to theta, okay, it was supposed to give you the component of the velocity in radial direction, that is perpendicular to theta, but it won't give you until unless if you divide it with r, because the units of psi is meter square per second and the unit of theta is radian, it would become meter square per radian second. So that's what the reason you divide with r. So r d theta is meter radian, which is meters. Meter into radian is meter. For example, you take an r and d theta. What is this arc length? R d theta, which we usually write as ds, meter, and meter into radian is again meter. You cannot write meter into degree and say it is meter. Meter should be multiplied with radian. Okay. So you have Vr as this. So let me remove this. Okay. So now we need the tangential component of the velocity, which is found as minus of dou psi by dou r. So these are the important equations in Cartesian and polar coordinates relating to the stream function psi. So, let us see what this could be. Now, suppose if I write psi as a function of x comma y. So, here I am dealing with 2D flows. So, if psi is a function of x comma y, then I can write the total difference of psi as dou psi by dou x into dx plus dou psi by dou y into dy. Okay. So, similarly in polar, so this was in Cartesian, that is rectangular. In rectangular coordinates, which are Cartesian coordinates. So, in polar coordinates, psi will be a function of r comma theta. So, then you write d psi as dou psi by dou r into dr plus dou psi by dou theta. Here you do not need to divide with 1 by r, because it is already, you are going to multiply with d theta will get cancelled and you will get the unit of psi only. Okay. So, these are two important total difference expressions that you need to use in the upcoming continuation of this topic. Okay. Now, let us define something called as what is potential function. Okay. So, the velocity potential function or the potential function is denoted by the symbol phi. Okay. So, it is defined for 2D as well as 3D. Here we are using it for the 2-dimensional flows. So, the potential function, the way it is defined is, if you take the partial derivative of phi with respect to x, it gives you the component of the velocity in x direction, and if you partially differentiate phi with respect to y, it gives the component of the velocity in y direction. Okay. This is in rectangular. So, if you talk about the polar, so in polar coordinates you have Vr is equals to, so obviously you will have to differentiate phi with respect to r to get the component of the velocity in r direction when you are dealing with phi. So, if you partially differentiate phi with respect to theta, but now phi again holds the unit of meter square per second. So, meter square per second divided by radian will not give you the unit of velocity. So, you have to divide that with r, and now it has the units of meter square per second divided by meter into radian is again meter, which gives you the unit of, if you cancel out 1 meter per second, that gives you the component of the velocity as v theta. Okay. So, these are another two important equations in terms of the potential function. So, these are very important equations which will be used in describing each and every type of ideal potential flow. Okay. You must remember these. Now, let us look at the usage of this stream function and potential function, or how using the stream function and potential function you can say the flow is ideal potential or not. Okay. Suppose I begin with writing continuity equation for 2D ideal potential flow. It will be dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y equals to 0. That is our continuity equation for 2D ideal potential flow, which is 2D steady, inviscid, incompressible and irrotational. Okay. So, if I plug in this dou by dou x, if I plug in the u as a function of psi, I would be writing it as dou psi by dou I, and if I plug in this v, I will be writing it as minus dou psi by dou x equals to 0. Okay. So, this gives us dou square psi by dou x dou y minus dou square psi by dou y dou x. So you can interchange this, should be equal to 0. So our continuity is satisfied. Now if we plug instead of this, so this is one part. Now in this equation, if I plug in the u as a function of phi, I will be writing it as dou phi by dou x plus dou by dou y dou phi by dou y equals to 0, which gives me, this implies dou square phi by dou x square plus dou square phi by dou y square equals to 0. Okay. So this is a very important equation. It is an equation which is, I hope you all know the equation known as the Laplace equation. So this is the Laplace equation and phi. So what is this Laplace? Let's work with this. So del dot del, if you take, what is del? Simply gradient. It is I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z dot I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z. When you take this dot product, it gives us dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square. Several people use deba and all that. I like calling it as dou. Okay, you stick to that. So this is an del dot del is expressed as del square, and this del square is called as the Laplacian. This is a Laplacian operator. It is a Laplacian operator del square. Since we are using it for only 2D flows, okay, for 2D flow this component will become, so from here it implies for 2D flows del square will be written as dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square. So the above equation, now we can also write this equation as equal to, or we can continue with that. We can write this equation as del square phi equals to 0. This is the Laplace equation in phi. So if the flow is, if the flow field is having the potential function phi and it is satisfying the Laplace equation, what you can say is the flow is satisfying its continuity. Okay. The continuity equation, if it is satisfied, which is dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y equal to 0, then you know that this continuity equation is for incompressible 2D flows. Okay. We know that our flow is irrotational. So if we want the flow to be irrotational and it is 2D, our vorticity should be xi z k cap, which can be written as 2 times of omega z k cap. So if I write xi z, which is the vorticity, it should be equal to dou v by dou x minus dou u by dou y, and which should be equal to 0 since flow is irrotational. So all ideal potential flows must satisfy this. So in this, if I substitute, let's say psi in place of u and v as a function of psi, I will be writing dou by dou x of, what is v? Minus dou psi by dou x, and what is u? What is u? Dou psi by dou y equals to 0. When I substitute this, this implies minus of dou square psi by dou x square minus dou square psi by dou y square equals to 0. Therefore, we have the Laplace equation in psi. Just like we had the Laplace equation in phi, we can write it as either this, or you can write it as del square psi equals to 0, meaning if the psi satisfies, this is the Laplace's equation in psi. So, if the psi is satisfying the Laplace equation, we can say the flow is irrotational. Okay, very important. I hope you understood that when the stream function and the potential function satisfies the Laplace equation for any flow field, that flow is called as the ideal potential flow. So, both the stream function and the potential function must satisfy these equations. And del square of phi is equals to 0. So, any flow whose psi and phi satisfies these Laplace equations, the flow is said to be the ideal potential flow. Then the flow is ideal potential flow. So, you can note it as a statement like, if del square of psi equals to 0 and del square of phi equals to 0, then the flow is ideal potential. So, let us derive the equations of stream function and the potential function for various ideal potential flows. So, the most common ideal potential flow is the uniform flow. We will begin with the most common flow, that is the uniform flow. So, here is various types of ideal potential flows. So, in this, the very first one is uniform flow parallel to x axis. So, uniform flow parallel to x axis, we will begin with this. So, let us take the Cartesian coordinates x, y. So, the uniform flow parallel to x axis will look like this. It will have, so this uniform flow parallel to x axis will have only the x component of the velocity, but its y component is 0. So, we write u as, let us say it is coming with a velocity u. So, u as capital U and small v, that is the y component of the velocity, is 0. Okay. So, let us start formulating this flow. So, here we can write psi, we know that is a function of x comma y. So, the difference in stream function can be written as dou psi by dou x into dx plus dou psi by dou y into dy. Okay. So, here when you write u equals to capital U, we know that in terms of psi, this could be written as dou psi by dou y, and v can be written as minus of dou psi by dou x. Similar to that, we can write it in terms of phi also, that is dou phi by dou x, and v is written as dou phi by dou y. So, we have this much information. So, let us work on this. So, we can write d psi equals to, what is dou psi by dou x? 0. And what is dou psi by dou y? That is u. Now, we can see, we cannot directly integrate this dou. Okay. There is no mathematical rule which says you are able to integrate dou psi like this. There is no, this kind of integration is illegal in mathematics. So, that is the reason we express it in the total difference form. Now, we can integrate this. So, integrating, we get psi equals to u y. I am leaving the constant of integration to be 0. Okay. So, this is our equation 1. Now, Remember, this is for uniform flow parallel to x-axis. We have a heading, so need not give new psi notations, subscripts or different things like that. So now let's work with for finding the potential function. So phi, we know that phi is a function of x comma y. So if phi is a function of x comma y, d phi for any two-dimensional field can be written as dou phi by dou x into dx plus dou phi by dou y into dy. Okay. So d phi, from these two equations we can write dou phi by dou x equals to u dx. Dou phi by dou y from this equation is 0. So integrating or you can write like this implies phi equals to ux, discarding the constant of integration. So this is our second equation. So like this we get the psi and phi, that is the stream function and the potential function for the uniform flow parallel to x-axis. So let's proceed with the next flow. Before we proceed, let's look at the psi values. So if I put different values of y, like y equal to 0, I get psi 0. When I put y equal to 1, I get psi equal to u. When I put y equal to 2, I get psi equal to 2u. So for every streamline, I have different value of psi. So I can express it to be like this. So I can have this as psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4, psi 5. Okay. Now if I look at the second equation, phi is equals to ux. When I substitute different values of x, for example, if I put x equal to 0, I get phi 0. Then when I put x equal to 1, I get phi equals to u. Then I put x equal to 2, I get phi equals to 3, and so on. We can keep on doing that. So if I draw, I get phi, different values of phi for every different value of x. So I can draw phi lines. So these are the equipotential lines. So it will develop phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4, phi 5, so on. So working like this, we can find out that at every intersection which we call, so every intersection of this kind of lines is called as node. At every node we have the two intersecting lines. Okay, the family of streamlines and the family of equipotential lines, they both intersect each other orthogonally. So these lines, the black ones that I have marked, they are the equipotential lines. That is for uniform flow parallel to x-axis. And these blue ones that we have here, okay, these ones, all these blue ones, they are called as streamlines. So when we draw streamlines and equipotential lines, a mesh is developed called as psi-phi mesh. So having done with findings of stream function and the equipotential functions for uniform flow parallel to x-axis, let's move on to the next flow, that is uniform flow parallel to y-axis. Let's find the psi and the phi for the uniform flow parallel to y-axis. Okay. So if I draw the axis as x and y, and I draw a uniform flow parallel to the y-axis, it would look like this. So this is a uniform flow I am considering parallel to the x-axis. So in this you have, there is no x component of the velocity, so u is 0, and the y component of the velocity, that is v, is equal to, let's say, capital V. Let's say flow is moving with a velocity v. So now if we write u as dou psi by dou y, which is equal to dou phi by dou x, and v as minus dou psi by dou x, which is equal to dou phi by dou y. I can write like that. Okay. So let's begin with finding what is the psi and phi of this particular flow. So we can write d psi equals to dou psi by dou x into dx plus dou psi by dou y into dy. So d psi can be written as, from these two equations we can write dou psi by dou x equal to minus v dx, and dou psi by dou y from this equation can be written as 0. So integrating we get what? Psi equals to minus vx. So I am discarding all the constants of integration here, so let's not worry about that. So let's this be the equation 1. Now the potential function d phi can be written as dou phi by dou x into dx plus dou phi by dou y into dy. So d phi can be written as, what is dou phi by dou x? Dou phi by dou x is equals to 0. So you substitute here. Then what is dou phi by dou y? That is equal to v. So integrating, what do we get? Phi equals to vy. This is our second equation for this flow. So like this we got the uniform flow, the psi and phi for the uniform flow parallel to y axis. Now if I look at the psi lines, I keep putting different value of x, okay, I will keep getting different values of psi. So I can mark this psi to be psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. Each streamline has a different value of the stream function. Okay, let's look at the potential function. Fine. If I substitute different values of phi, I will be getting like this. So I can mark phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4, phi 5 and so on, which gives rise to the psi phi mesh of a uniform flow parallel to y axis. So now we have the psi and phi for the uniform flow parallel to y axis and the psi phi mesh developed for this flow. Okay. Now let's move on to our third flow, that is the inclined uniform flow. Many people call this flow as uniform flow parallel to x axis, some people call it as uniform flow parallel, sorry guys, till here you cut. Okay, let's work with our next flow, that is next ideal potential flow, that is inclined uniform flow. Many people say it is inclined to the x axis, some people say it is inclined to y axis. If you say inclined to x axis, it is obviously inclined to the y axis also. So we use the simplest notation as inclined uniform flow. So let's draw the axis and then the flow. So this is our x axis and this is our y axis. Let's draw the flow pattern. Let's say we have a uniform flow going like this, okay, in this direction with typically a uniform velocity v infinity. So this v infinity can have two components. One is x component, let it be u, and y component, let it be v. So this x component can be written as dou psi by dou y and y component can be written as dou phi by dou x. So v can be written as minus of dou psi by dou x is equals to dou phi by dou y. Okay, like we did before. Now let's find out what is the psi and phi for this flow. So this V infinity you can resolve into two components like this, one giving rise to U, another giving rise to V. Fine. So d psi can be written as dou psi by dou x into dx plus dou psi by dou y into dy. So d psi can be written as, what is dou psi by dou x from this equation? Minus V. And what is dou psi by dou y from this equation? Capital U. Integrating, we get psi equals to minus Vx plus Ui. So we have our equation 1 for this flow. Okay, let's work with the potential function. So let's find it out. D phi can be written as dou phi by dou x into dx plus dou phi by dou y into dy. Come on guys, quickly finish it off. D phi can be written as dou phi by dou x is what? U dx. Dou phi by dou y is what? V dy. So integrating, we get phi equals to ux plus v y. So this is these are the stream function and the equipotential functions for, that is your second equation for inclined uniform flow. So if you draw the lines for phi substituting different value of x and y's, okay, you will be getting the equipotential lines as this, which you can mark as phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4 and so on, and this can be marked as psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. I hope you got the understanding of three different flows. Okay, so I hope that gives you a sense of how these flows are, the psi phi measure being developed. So now we'll move on to the next type of flows, in which we'll be dealing with polar coordinates. Okay, fine guys, let's move on to our fourth flow, that is a source flow, and then we'll go to the sink flow and then other flows. So plane source flow is a flow in which the flow comes out in all the directions radially from a unit radius hole. So this is a small source from which the fluid is emanating in all the directions like this. Okay, so this has only the radial component of the velocity, which is, as the flow goes away radially, the velocity will decrease, meaning you are near the source, you will be experiencing more velocity. Far away from the source, there will be decrement in velocity. So there is no tangential component of the velocity, so v theta is 0. Let's remove the constant of proportionality. We can remove this proportionality and we can put the constant of proportionality as Vr equals to some k by r. So here I can write Vr equals to k by r, that is equal to, what is Vr in terms of psi? Dou psi by dou theta, and since theta will not give proper unit, so r d theta you should be there in the denominator, then that is equal to dou phi by dou r. And what is v theta? V theta is 0, that is equal to minus of dou psi by dou r, which is equal to 1 over r dou phi by dou theta. Okay. So now let's find out the psi and phi for this flow. We know that in polar we write psi as a function of r comma theta. So I can write d psi as dou psi by dou r into dr plus dou psi by dou theta into d theta. So, if I substitute dou psi by dou r, which is equal to 0 in this equation, and dou psi by dou theta as r, if you cancel, dou psi by dou theta will become k. So, if you substitute in this equation, I am continuing here. So, d psi can be written as dou psi by dou r, you are writing it as is 0 for this flow. So, dou psi by dou theta is k d theta. So, integrating, what do we get? Psi equals to, what do we get? Psi equals to k theta, which I was expecting. I hope everybody was expecting that, because I change different value of theta, I get different streamlines. So, these are psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4, psi 5, psi 6, psi 7, psi 8. So, we got our equation 1 for this flow. Okay. Now, this is in polar coordinates. So, in Cartesian, or we call it as rectangular form, this can be written as psi equals to k tan inverse of y by x. Either you call this as equation 1 or you call this as the equation 1. This is in Cartesian, that is in the polar. Okay. Now, let us work with phi. So, d phi can be written as dou phi by dou r into dr plus dou phi by dou theta into d theta. So, d phi can be written as, what is dou phi by dou r from this equation? K by r dr. What is dou phi by dou theta? 0. So, integrating, we get phi equals to k ln of, that is k ln of r, that is our second equation. If we write in Cartesian form, okay, phi can be written as k, r can be written as under root of x square plus y square. Okay. So, if I substitute in this, I get k by 2 ln of x square plus y square as our final expression. You can say either this as equation 2 or this as the equation 2. Okay. Now, the question is, what is this k? So, this is k is called as the source constant, and this k is equals to m by 2 pi, where m is called as source strength. So, this what is this source strength? Okay, what is this source strength m? So, this source strength m is the volumetric flow rate per unit depth coming of the fluid coming out from that unit radius hole. Okay. So, we have now psi equations and the phi equations both in polar as well as in Cartesian for the plane source flow. So, when you want the plane sink flow, you just have to put a negative sign for both psi as well as phi, because it is just going to change the direction of the flow. It is going to change the direction of the flow. If it is the sink, it is going to absorb. If it is since it was the source, it was emanating the fluid away from the center, and if it is the sink, it will have negative strength, so it will absorb the fluid. So, you will replace that k with minus k's everywhere, and you get the sink flow equations. So, when we look at the phi of the source flow, we have phi equals to k by 2 ln of x square plus y square, which can be written as e power 2 phi by k is equals to x square plus y square. Okay. When you look at that, Okay, this can be marked as the some constant, because for every equipotential line the value of phi is constant. So if phi is constant, okay, if this phi is constant, what do you get? You put some value of phi, some value, whatever you like. So 2 into that constant value divided by the constant, e power that whole value is going to produce some constant, that is going to be the radius of the circle, because on my right hand side I have x square plus y square equal to constant is the equation of a circle. So therefore the equipotential lines are circles with center 0, 0 and radius r equals to e power 2 phi by k, that would be r square. So if I take the root, it would become power of 1 by 2 e power phi by k simply. Okay, that is the radius of the circles. So let's draw the streamlines and the equipotential lines for this flow. So let's take the unit radius. So these are our streamlines for the source flow, since we have only the radial component Vr, and which is equal to k by r, and V theta is 0. So we have these lines as streamlines. So they have different values of psi, starting from here psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4, psi 5, psi 6, psi 7, psi 8. Don't think that you can allot only the 8 stream functions or 8 streamlines. You can have enormous phenomenal number of streamlines for this flow. Okay. So now if I draw this circle with center as origin, I will be getting my equation of equipotential line. I will call it as phi 1. Then if I change the value of phi, I will be getting another circle phi 2. Then I change another equipotential line, potential function value, I get phi 3. Then I keep drawing like that, phi 4, and I can keep drawing the whole flow mesh. So if you observe in this also, both at each and every intersection, both the streamlines and the equipotential lines, they intersect orthogonally everywhere. Okay. So we have now flow mesh developed for the flow which is called as source flow. So let's work with what is called as the sink flow. So as I already told you, you just have to change the sign of psi and phi, that is the sign of k, that is the source constant, or you have to reverse the direction of the flow. Okay, that will give you the sink. If you just replace the psi and the k's in the source flow equation with minus k. So the psi of the sink can be written as minus k theta, and psi of the sink, phi of the sink, and phi of the sink can be written as minus k ln of r. It's very nice and easy to memorize also. Okay, let's work with our sixth flow, that is the free vertex flow. Free vertex flow. So a little information about free vertex flow. Free vertex flow is a flow which is not experiencing any external force. It is not being forced to form the vertex, it is free. Okay, like forces which are not in direct contact with the fluid, like gravity and all, they can, which acts from a distance and can form the swirling of the fluid, which is a vertical flow. So that kind of vertices are free vertices. So the typical thing about free vertex is the angular momentum the angular momentum of a free vertex is conserved, that is P, which is equal to I omega, is constant. So the angular velocity is not constant, whereas angular momentum is constant. So if the angular momentum is constant, which I am calling angular momentum is P for me, where I is the mass moment of inertia. Okay, so we have I as the mass moment of inertia. If I is the mass moment of inertia, which can be written as mr square. So P can be written as mr square omega. Okay, so if I write, look at the free vortex flow. The free vortex flow will have only the tangential component of the velocity, and it will not have any radial component of the velocity. So let's say it is having the strength of the vortex is, let's say, capital gamma. Okay, so this is the gamma is the strength of the vortex. Gamma is the strength of this vortex. So if I consider from the center any point on this streamline at a radial distance r, I can draw a tangent to that circle. If it has only the tangential component of the velocity, it will be v theta. And as I go away from the center, it must hold the inverse relation with r. So v theta is inversely proportional to r, and Vr is 0 for this flow. So if v theta is inversely proportional to r and Vr is 0, what do we get? We can write v theta is equals to, removing the proportionality, I put the constant of proportionality C by R, which can be written as 1 by R, or dou psi minus of dou psi by dou R, that is equal to 1 over R dou phi by dou theta. And Vr, which is 0 here, is equals to 1 by R dou psi by dou theta, which is equal to dou phi by dou R. Okay, so we will be working with this v theta and Vr, and we will again be finding psi and phi for this flow like we did for previous 5 flows. So let's find psi and phi. So d psi can be written as dou psi by dou r into dr plus dou psi by dou theta into d theta. So this d psi can be written as, what is dou psi by dou r? Can be written as minus c by r dr, plus what is dou psi by dou theta? 0. So I can write integrating, I can write psi equals to minus c ln of r. I have the equation 1. Fine. So then, having found this psi, I will be going for phi. So d phi can be written as dou phi by dou r into dr plus dou phi by dou theta into d theta. Okay. So d phi can be written as dou phi by dou r is what? Dou phi by dou r is 0, and dou phi by dou theta is, if you cancel out r and r from here, you will be getting it as c d theta. So phi becomes c theta. Okay, let's call that as the equation number 2. Fine. So we got both stream function and the potential function for a free vertex flow. Let's draw the equipotential line. So you put, already we have streamlines, so you can mark psi 1, psi 2. This is also saying that it is the equation of a circle. Psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi 4. So for this equation, these are the lines. Now for this equation, that is the equation of equipotential function or the potential function, You put different values of theta, you keep getting different values of phi. So this is that. Do not mark any arrow on the equipotential line. Never do that. Never draw an arrow to the equipotential line. It just gives the equal potential, means equal values of the potential function. It doesn't give you any value of the stream, any direction of the flow. Whereas stream functions will be having the direction because they represent the streamlines. Okay, each different value, constant value of psi represents that streamline. It is unique along that streamline. So they will give you the direction of the flow. Okay, so we have now Sci-Fi mesh developed for the free vortex flow. That was our 6th flow.